So I became Obi-centric immediately. So my initial political idea was centered on Obi.
Anybody who is voting for NDC and Peter Obi is voting for criminality. And I will prove it with facts.
Few political figures in recent years have generated as much debate as Kenneth Okonkwo. To his supporters, he is fearless. A man willing to challenge politicians regardless of their status. A voice that refuses to remain silent when he believes something is wrong. But to his critics, Kenneth represents something entirely different. A political actor whose alliances often end in public confrontation. A man who has repeatedly moved between political camps. A politician whose critics question whether his loyalty is to causes, personalities, or opportunities. Today, Kenneth Okonkwo stands at the center of one of the most controversial debates in Nigerian politics. But to understand how he arrived here, we must go back to where the political journey began.
Actor turned politician Kenneth Okonkwo is ecstatic at being appointed as part of the member of the APC presidential campaign team. He took to social media to make the announcement while sharing a photo of the appointment letter, which stated that the actor is to serve as member of the Directorate of Contact and Mobilization. He specified in his post, and I quote, "To God be the glory for my appointment as a member of APC presidential campaign team. By the grace of God, every appointment you're expecting this year will come to pass in Jesus' name. Happy New Year once more, and God bless."
In 2019, when President Buhari was running for his second term bid, Kenneth Okonkwo joined the APC. During this period, Kenneth Okonkwo was widely seen as a loyal supporter of the administration, but questions would later emerge regarding his political ambition. Some critics allege that Kenneth hoped to secure greater political opportunities within the APC structure, including aspirations connected to governorship politics in his home state of Enugu. Supporters dismiss such claims as speculations. They argue that political participation naturally involves ambition and that there is nothing unusual about seeking elective office. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain: the relationship between Kenneth and the APC would not last forever.
In Nigeria, if you have zero tolerance for corruption and you can block the leakages of these witches that project their own pipe into the...
As the years passed, public frustration with the Buhari administration grew. Economic difficulties intensified. Security concerns dominated national conversations. Political divisions deepened. Across the country, many former supporters began questioning whether the promises of change had been fulfilled. Kenneth Okonkwo became increasingly critical of the government he once supported. To some observers, this demonstrated principle. To others, it reinforced a growing perception that Kenneth often distances himself from political projects once they encounter difficulties. The debate would follow him into every subsequent political relationship. Then came the political phenomenon that would redefine Kenneth Okonkwo's public image: Peter Obi. By 2022, Nigeria's political landscape was changing rapidly. A new generation of voters was emerging. Social media was transforming political communication. and the Labour Party suddenly found itself at the center of a national movement. Kenneth embraced the project enthusiastically. Few individuals defended Peter Obi as passionately or as consistently. Night after night, debate after debate, Kenneth became one of Obi's most recognizable public advocates.
First of all, admit that when I started working as a spokesperson for this great Nigerian, I was affected with his affection. But today, as the days go by, I am now infected with his personality. This man has just dazzled the world with his brilliance and convinced the world with his clarity. I have not seen a man who has started rewriting the history of Nigeria, beautifying Nigeria even before he's sworn in as the next president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as I know he will by May 29.
He challenged critics, defended policies, promoted the obedient movement, and helped shape the narrative surrounding the campaign. For many Labour Party supporters, Kenneth was no longer just a supporter. He had become one of the movement's most trusted voices.
Anybody who is voting for NDC and Peter Obi is voting for criminality. And I will prove it with facts.
Then came the shock. The alliance began to fracture. At first, the disagreements appeared subtle. Strategic differences, organizational disagreements, questions about the future direction of the movement. But over time, the criticism became impossible to ignore. Public statements became sharper, the tone became harsher, and the political distance between the two men widened dramatically. For many Obidians, the transformation was difficult to understand. How could one of Peter Obi's strongest defenders become one of his most vocal critics? The answer depends entirely on whom you ask.
A personal difference you have with him? Did he offend you?
Thank you for this question. I am telling you that anybody that wants to preside over me as president in Nigeria must be interrogated. I've not even said anything against Peter Obi compared to what I said against the other presidential candidate in 2023. Let me.
Look at this man, Kenneth Okonkwo. The way he's speaking evil against Peter Obi has made me to go to my archives. And I saw something in my archives. He was very close to my late relation, Francis Agu. They both acted in Living in Bondage. Francis Agu, my relation, my cousin and brother, acted in Chiemil.
Introduced a powerful label, political jobber. In Nigerian political discourse, few descriptions are more controversial. The term is often used to describe individuals who move from one political camp to another in pursuit of influence, relevance, appointments, opportunities, or personal advancement. Critics pointed to Kenneth's journey from APC to Labour Party and later political alignments. They argued that a pattern was becoming visible. First, Buhari, then Obi, then new political alliances. Supporters strongly reject the characterization, argue that Kenneth's action reflects conviction, not opportunism. They insist that political loyalty should never come before truth, and that changing one's position is not necessarily evidence of bad faith. The debate continues to divide public opinion.
Atiku Abubakar is a man that has propensity for corruption, tendency to disloyalty, inability to say and speak the truth at all times. So he's a man who has propensity for poor judgment, belief and reliance in matter about, lack of transparency, a man who trusts in money to buy his way out in all situations, a man who has the readiness to sacrifice morality, integrity, propriety, truth, national interest for self and selfish interest. We are seeing it manifesting. It gives me goose pimples that Atiku has the national award in corrupting the generation before him and corrupting the generation after.
As opposition politics evolved, Kenneth's interaction with other political actors attracted renewed attention. Once again, observers began asking familiar questions. Was Kenneth searching for a new political home? Was he attempting to build a broader opposition coalition? Or was he simply responding to changing political realities? The speculation intensified because many Nigerians had seen similar transitions before. By now, every new political move was being interpreted through the lens of previous alliances and previous fallouts.
Into it. Then Peter Obi and the leaders of the Southeast now went and told them, anybody who wants to be House of Rep person, after paying that expression of interest, must pay 10 million naira bribe, and Senate 20 million naira bribe. When they were
bribe to who?
Bribe to the NDC and the caucus. They call them caucus leaders in the Southeast. This was what he wrote it and sent to me, and sent me the receipt, because they told him he needed money to campaign for his presidency. Now, when they were told individually, so they thought they were now the chosen candidate, that maybe that is the nomination fee. When all of them paid, they discovered there were many. Then we are now told to go into the field for direct primary. And when they now went into the field, they thought that there was going to be genuine primary. And as they were in that field, killing themselves, Peter Obi was in John Wood Hotel. He mentioned the hotel, writing the list of candidates. And after that, they submitted it. And let's limit this to what he said, I said.
Okay.
So he said that the party, the National Caucus, told us to pay 10 million naira. That is the issue. I never said that, and it's not in the message. And I will want this conversation to limit it to what he said, I said. What he said on the national TV.
Yes.
Then the conflict between Peter Obi and Kenneth Okonkwo escalated further. Public accusations were made. Serious allegations entered the conversation. Supporters of both men rallied behind their preferred narratives. The political disagreement had become personal and eventually legal. What began as an alliance had ended in accusation, counter-accusation, and courtroom proceedings. The fallout was complete. Perhaps the most important question is not whether Kenneth Okonkwo was right or whether Peter Obi was right. The deeper question is this: when a political actor repeatedly changes alliances and repeatedly falls out with former allies, what should the public conclude? Is it evidence of courage, independence, principle, or does it reveal a pattern of political opportunism? Kenneth Okonkwo supporters and critics answered that question very differently. But one thing is beyond dispute: his political journey has become one of the most fascinating and controversial stories in contemporary Nigerian politics.